Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk about different types of pool cues that you will see a player use. So if we start on the left here, we first have the playing cue. So playing cue is typically the cue that a player will use most of the time. The playing cue is typically the most decorated, the most expensive cue that a player will own. The differences between the playing cue and some of the other cues I'm going to show you is that the tips are usually slightly softer to allow more spin because on regular shots you want to create more spin, whereas for breaking you want to cue with a very hard tip to get the most power into the shot. So here we have two of my playing cues. So these are pretty regular, nothing really too special about them. Next we have a jump cue. So a jump cue is used for jump shots. As you can see, is a lot shorter. For me, actually, this cue breaks apart into another shorter section. So a jump cue is typically a light cue with a very hard tip. So it allows you to jump the ball easier than using a breaking cue or a playing cue, which is very difficult to jump a shot. Next here we'll have a breaking cue. So a breaking cue typically will have a very hard tip at the front, a very stiff shaft that allows maximum power transfer from your break shot. The next cue we have here is also a break cue, but it's a jump break cue. So this actually breaks apart into a shorter jump cue. This is pretty typical. Lots of players use these jump break cues simply because you only have to carry one cue instead of two. So these are fairly popular. And also it's got a very hard tip. So a jump cue tip and shaft is very similar to a break cue tip and shaft. Therefore, you can have a jump break cue that'll work fairly well still. The last cue here is probably the only real special cue that you won't see very often. So this is a masse cue. So a masse cue is used for trick shots. It's for shots where you are jabbing down on the table or down at the ball where you want to create a lot of spin on the cue ball. So a masse cue typically is very heavy. So these cues are all about 18 to 20 ounces in weight, whereas a masse cue can range anywhere between 24 ounces to maybe even 30 ounces. So it's also got a very hard ferrule. So this is a phenolic ferrule. Phenolic is a very hard material, typically used for breaking cue tips and jump cue tips. So it's got a very hard ferrule because most of these masse shots require a lot of power, a lot of impact, so you don't want the cue to break on you. The tip of a masse cue is fairly soft, that will generate more spin. Anyway, so hopefully that'll give you guys a better understanding of the different types of cues that you might see.